welcome back to Work in Progress with Nicole Engelmann and my guest, Georgia Freshwater-Blizzard. This is the second part of our conversation where we're talking more about practical tips about marketing as a maker. Thanks for coming back, Georgia. I mean, we've literally just talked to each other, but that's fine.
Thanks for having me back.
No worries. In terms of marketing for makers versus other like service-based businesses, is there a big difference?
Well, yeah, between product and service, there's a big difference. But for makers specifically, I would say that I take a more specific approach again than for just product in general, because for me there needs to be so much more. I mean, we touched on this in the previous episode, so much more emphasis on storytelling and process and value demonstration because of the issues that we talked about before with intellectual property, your work being stolen and manufactured at scale, and the just generalized expectation that things are going to be fast and cheap. We have an uphill battle before we even start making. So that's where we really, really have to double down on things that we might not have to for other areas where the cost is so cheap that people can just use that as the marketing tactic, or that you are able to make so many things that you can just mass produce and use that to be everywhere all at once. And it's, as a maker, we're usually teams of one, or we have, a couple of people helping us. And so that limits the amount of material that we're able to create and put out into the world in terms of marketing. And so therefore, your storytelling needs to be super, super tight, super, super clear, super, super effective. If you start with that base, then you can kind of mitigate the fact that you're not able to do the other things in the same way that the quote unquote big boys are. And it really gets to the heart of why people would choose to buy from you over choose to buy from somebody that's selling it cheaper or that can get it to them quicker or anything else. The second part that I mentioned there was the value proving, which we touched on before as well, where it's so important to bring people along on the journey so that they can see what is going into what they are investing in. For example, the materials that you have bought, how long you've spent looking for those materials, what the research process was like, what the testing process was like, how many samples did you make before you came up with the final design, how many dye batches did you have to do before you really nailed that color, where your inspirations came from, the paintings that you did that inspired the work. This whole thing needs to come together in order to connect emotionally with your audience and make it a no-brainer that they're going to spend £450 on a cardigan instead of £5, because they want to feel that. They want to feel that connection and that emotion and be part of your story as well.
That's great. That's the other thing. The £5 cardigan from Shine or Sheen, there's thousands of them around, but the one for 450, there's probably just a handful. And it's, it's not child labor or whatever, or manufactured. It's literally made with love and with a lot of thought and research and passion, importantly.
Yeah.
When you're starting out as a product-based business, and there's probably, things that you should and shouldn't do, a lot of misconceptions, but what is the thing that you should put your focus on, and what's the thing that you should ignore? Because, there's a lot of noise where people tell you things.
Yeah, there is a lot of noise internally and externally, because everyone comes to creating full stop, creating a business and marketing that business, which are all three very significant things, in a completely different way. You have all of these things that you think you should be doing, right? And there are so many shoulds in all three of those that it is going to be a little bit overwhelming, especially if then, like me, you're a researcher and you're like, okay, well, what's the best way of making this thing, setting up my business, doing the marketing? And then you suddenly realize everyone has a different opinion and people are just saying things without giving any kind of research backup. They're not showing their sources, they're not showing their working, and you have to somehow choose who to trust. And it's an absolute minefield. It really, really is. And a lot of it can be subjective unless you've done the initial research and unless you are strong in your values and your mission. So that is really where I feel that people need to be starting. If they are unclear about what their personal or business values are, if they are unclear about why they are doing what they're doing, like really why, like really hammer down into, okay, in my heart, what is it that is my driving force? If you don't have that as a base, then everything else is going to be murky. Everything else is going to be, oh, I saw this on Instagram, so I'm going to do that and see if it works. I'm going to buy followers because somebody told me that I need 10,000 followers in order to be respected. I am going to spend 5 days creating templates to be able to make sure that my feed looks beautiful and highly curated, like I'm in a museum. Oh, I need an email list. Let me spend some money on MailChimp and start sending some emails because I need to do that, not because I have anything to say. It gets messy, expensive, and laborsome very quickly.
Yeah.
Uh,
I hear the mail list thing. It's one of those
yeah.
things where people literally now say, your email has more value than social media or anything, and it's like, I get that, because the other thing is like social media could disappear in a heartbeat, and then
Mm-hmm.
everyone you
Yep.
connected with or follows you could be done. So definitely build on that, but it's not your start all and end all. And it's also like you said, if you don't actually have anything to say, you might actually repel people because you're just throwing out things
Mm-hmm.
and they don't even make sense to your brand, to your business, just for the sake of it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I say start with your values and your mission. I know it sounds boring, it sounds basic, it sounds like, yeah, I know, but I want to be a creative and do creative things and I need to launch my new collection and I need to be visible on social media. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. But none of it's going to mean anything unless we start with this base. Really, really. Like one of the biggest misconceptions that I've spent my whole career, which is a weird phrase for me to say. I'm not sure I've ever said that phrase out loud before. Um, Fighting against is the need for everything to look perfect all of the time. And this manifests in many ways, but I think one of the biggest places it manifests is in social media feeds, like Instagram feeds. People have this obsession with, oh, like I can't post this thing because then it's going to ruin the whole aesthetic. And if you're leading from that place, then you're not leading from an authentic place, in my opinion. You need to be able to feel free that your social media presence is an extension of your creative practice. And if you're trying to curate the whole thing to look a certain way and to feel a certain way, just from that place, not from a branding place, where we want our logo to be consistent. That's great, I love that. But in terms of like getting obsessive about posts flowing into each other and all following the same guideline, oh my God, what a way to stunt yourself creatively and to make it feel overwhelming to post anything.
Yeah, I get that. I think, I don't know if it's that much anymore, but there used to be a few years ago where you posted, it was one picture, but it was over three posts. And then you remember that where it's like
Yeah.
a banner or something. Like your pin post
Yeah, I
could be a
remember.
banner, but they did that with their whole grid. So sometimes it would be one square photo, but it's like actually
Yes.
nine posts, and then they didn't say anything. They were literally just empty posts, and you're like, what was the point of that? I click on
Hmm.
this photo, nothing. There's nothing written, and it just looks pretty, but there's no
Yeah.
substance to it.
Yeah, and then you're forced to post 3 posts at a time every time you post to be able to keep that photo in one piece for the rest of time, really.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, it looks like Tetris or like some kind of puzzle gone wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I've been a long-term campaigner against that, and I think if people started with their values, with their mission, and then saw socials and as an extension of themselves, an extension of their creative process, then the world would be a lot simpler.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, do you think social media is the best place for makers then to kind of spread the word? Big question.
Yeah. I love that question so much. So I used to work in a offline marketing company. So I am in general, when I'm putting together a strategy, unless somebody asks me for specifically digital, I look over the whole remit. I'm looking through the whole system because I don't believe that anything works in isolation. I think we need to see it as a connected universe more than ever. And I'm actually a big believer that physical spaces, and yes, that includes makers markets, um, are one of the biggest marketing opportunities and best investments. Even now, don't come at me, even if you don't sell anything. And I think that a lot of makers have had this experience, right? Where you go to a market and there isn't the footfall, or the organizers haven't promoted the event properly, or people have dropped out last minute, so it's feeling a little bit thin, or it clashes with another event, or the worst one of all, it rains. And you don't sell anything, and it's heartbreaking. And it's really, really easy to focus on that. But that being said, I am the biggest advocate for makers markets as a marketing opportunity, not a sales opportunity. I think if you go in with a sales mindset and you don't sell anything, it's going to be absolutely devastating. If you go in with a marketing mindset, the rent being an investment in your marketing, then it's an absolute gold mine of an opportunity.
Yeah, I totally get that. And from a point of view as a buyer, um, I'm going, I'm out and about in London a lot. So there's a lot of pop up markets and stuff like that. I'm often in Spitalfields as well, where there's the, I think, Urban Makers Market, I think it's called. And I've bought loads of things from those markets, but also sometimes I don't. But I follow them on Instagram, and then I see a new product popping up, and I message them or go to their website or their Etsy shop and buy it from them rather than like buying it on the day. But I'm aware of them, like I said, and that's what marketing is, being making people aware of that you actually exist. And
Mm-hmm.
I go to those markets, and sometimes it's I don't have money, or you kind of have to think it over. I hate making a snap decision because I make them a lot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
then you regret buying something, but I don't want to regret buying something like that. And then you go back, and like the next week you're still thinking about it, and then it's like, okay, maybe I'll send them a message on Instagram and say, is this still available, or do you have maybe a different colorway or stuff like that. I literally had my ears re-pierced like 3 years ago because of all the handmade earrings you can now get, like the rainbows and the
Yeah.
purple things. And I've got so many now, and I have one person I'm actually like, one maker I'm quite friendly with, and every time I see she's doing a market, I'm trying to pop by, even if I don't buy anything, but I'm standing there half an hour and we just chat. And often I make sure I wear one of hers, and when people then come by, it's like, yeah, that's one of hers. Those markets are great, right? It's I think it's a great opportunity to think of it as being visible and showing up rather than just like making a sale.
Yeah, yeah, and even Oh gosh, I feel like an absolute broken record bringing up the word community again. I swear I'll keep this to the last time, but um, I think that's something that is like actually quite underrated. Even if you're thinking of it as a marketing opportunity, one thing that I don't think people take advantage of enough is the connections you make with other traders, because I'm a big advocate for community over competition. So even if somebody is selling something that technically is, would be seen as a competitor, it's not. You have two different stories, you're coming from two different places, you have two different ways of making, two different outcomes. Just because you're both selling earrings doesn't mean that you couldn't benefit from forming those kind of connections. And it's a place where you are shoved together for a whole day. I mean, you don't get that kind of exposure to relationship building unless you're in an office or at school.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, just because you may have similar shapes or forms, because obviously when you have the cutters or stuff for the earrings, again, often mass produced, and you're buying similar shapes when there's a new trend, but you still make it differently. You still use different colors, different patterns. There's a different creative process behind it. And
Yeah.
I've literally bought from two neighboring stands things, maybe not at the same time, but there's one that is like glittery that I would go when I'm going out, and one there's like my day earrings or whatever. And I felt talking to some of the makers, some of them are really literally like, yeah, have you gone to this person? I saw she's downstairs with her stand. I love her earrings. And that person made earrings herself. And it's just, it's a better, I think it's a better atmosphere, and it's just a better way of thinking about it. And thinking about it as competition, it's so negative and just doesn't add anything to you as a business other than like, jealousy. And that's not a good feeling. And it probably blocks something in your business as well if you feel that constantly.
Yeah, and loneliness as well. Running your own business is not for the faint-hearted, and you need to find other people that are in the same situation, and that is really a perfect place to do it and find that camaraderie.
Yeah, definitely. Take that chance. Don't say I don't want to talk to you because you do the same thing.
Yeah.
And what we haven't touched actually on is that you're a digital nomad. You don't actually live in England at the moment. You're here at the moment,
Yeah.
but you're running your business mainly from Vietnam, right?
Yes. So I am back at the moment. I have lots of things to do. I need um, to get rid of lots and lots of stuff because I have too much stuff here in the UK that is not relevant. For example, jumpers.
You don't need those in Vietnam.
Right, exactly, exactly. And yes, so I made the decision earlier in the year to start running my business full time from Vietnam. I have visited Vietnam a few times before, specifically Hoi An, which is in central Vietnam. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is absolutely stunning. It is beach, it is history, it is um, community, food, oh, everything to me. People coming in and out, expat community, really, it's a really good mix of things for me, especially creatively. So I made the decision after I kind of looked around and thought, hang on a second. Part of the reason I run my own business is because then it allows me freedom to be anywhere that I want to be. Everything that I do is online. Um, I love the opportunity, obviously, to go and see my clients in person and support their work and show up for them when I can, which is another thing that I'm doing whilst I'm here in England, is going around and seeing some of my clients' work and exhibitions and things, which is really exciting. Um, but if I can do all of my work to a high enough level where I hold myself to, then I can do it anywhere. So why am I not doing it anywhere? And I feel like also the cultural differences, both in the standard things, but also in marketing specifically gives me a nice edge.
Hmm. And from a business point of view, is there anything, if someone is toying with that idea of going to a different country and work from there, or kind of doing a travel around thing, any kind of practical things that you should think of?
Oh, well, I think the main obvious thing is visas. Like, look at what the visa situation is in any given place, because some places are really, really welcoming, and other places you have to go through a little bit more of a rigmarole, paperwork, checking up, paying lots of money situation. So definitely have a look at that and see what's available to you, and then work from there. And then from another practical standpoint, I suppose, if like, make sure that you can still perform at the same level just on your computer without the need for in-person meetups, because you don't want to sacrifice the quality of your work in any way. Absolutely not. That would be a bad decision for me anyway, because I think, yeah, as business owners, we do what we do because we love it, and if we love it, then we want to do a good job. And so um, there's that. And then after that, um,
Thoroughly communicated to your clients as well, right?
yeah, that's true. I think that also, the difficulty of that changes depending on what side of your clients you're going to be in terms of time zones. So
Hmm.
most of my clients will sit in a time zone that's waking up after me. I go onto my computer and they're waking up to my emails because I've been awake already for a while. That way round feels a bit easier, because I can always make sure that I'm there for them immediately, on tap. And people at the end of the day also don't want to be sending loads and loads of emails. Most often don't get any emails from them after I've already switched off my laptop anyway. But yeah, communication in terms of your clients, even as a smaller thing as having it on your email sign off what time zones you're working in, and making sure that they're okay with communicating on whatever platform you choose, whether that's email, whether you're working together on a Miro board, whether you're in the same Canva document working together, making sure they're comfortable with whatever software you're using. um, but I think you you need to have that baked into your business anyway, whether you're abroad or not. Like, good communication, I think, is the key to being good at business.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. To wrap this up, obviously the podcast is called Work in Progress. So
Mhm.
is there anything you're currently working on that's in progress? It could be something that you're, working on in your own business, like doing any workshops, but also maybe an offer or some kind of things that you're working on for your clients.
Well, so I have just relaunched my strategy package. I am a strategist at heart. I'm a strategist at heart because I believe that it's the way that you make the most progress. So I have strategy packages available where we go through and we start with research, and we start with you, and we start with the business, and we really profile everything, and then move into a strategy that's going to work for you, that's actually realistic, and that will reach your goals in a way that feels good. So that has just been relaunched. It's on my website, makingafuss.co.uk. Then, work in progress wise, I have a very exciting turn of events that happened quite quickly, which is that me and one of my business pals have accidentally started a podcast about metaphors, meanings, and the chaos of life.
Ooh, tell me more.
Wow. It's called wordplay. Two words, wordplay, exclamation mark. And we basically sit down each week and rip apart a familiar English idiom or metaphor and talk about its cultural, contextual place in the world and how we feel about it, and share some random stories. It's kind of like meeting up with the group chat in a beer garden with that one mate that tends to overshare everything that's going on in their life. That kind of vibe, and it's very very fun. And yeah, it gets into storytelling, it gets into things that are a little bit personal, and yeah, it's a good time. It's a nice have on while you're doing the washing up or on a long drive kind of situation, I think.
This sounds great. I definitely follow. And it sounds like you perfectly described myself right now with the oversharing.
I mean, come on, come on. In that last episode, I think I did enough for the both of us, no?
But I think it's so interesting, and I think it's one of those things why I preferred going with a podcast where I have a conversation, because there's just more things happening and it's more organic and it feels more natural to me, and then things spring out of that. Like you said, you're just having a chat about a phrase or a saying, and then magic happens because you're kind of connecting it through different experiences and
Right.
stories. So I'm definitely gonna have a no, I'm having a voice problem. I'm definitely gonna listen to this. And I
Yeah.
love like
Yeah.
listening to podcasts on the tube and stuff. It's my go-to thing to do.
And she's amazing. Like she's one of my best friends, so obviously I'm going to say she's amazing. But she's a ADHD career and life coach, and helps people find careers and business setups that work good for neurodiverse brains, if that's the right phrase. Forgive me if it's not. I'm not the expert here, she is. Yeah, we go on many, 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 many tangents, which I know is a comforting thing for people whose brains also work in that same way.
That's brilliant. So what was the podcast called again? Wordplay.
Is wordplay, exclamation mark at the end.
Brilliant. I'll put that in the show notes as well. And that's it for us. I really enjoyed it.
So lovely. Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's interesting to see that, obviously this is our second go, and it has taken slightly different turns from the first conversation.
Mm-mm.
So it's not a cookie cutter thing. So I really enjoyed this. I mean, I enjoyed the first chat, but it's always nice to see what else comes out as well.
I mean, I don't remember pretty much. I remember like tiny little snippets from that first attempt, but I'm going to confidently say with my whole chest that this one was better, and you guys are so lucky that you got to listen to this version.
Here, here.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So, to wrap this up, thank you all for listening in. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you want to connect with Georgia, put all her links in the show notes. She's on Instagram as well. Her company is called Making a Fuss. And then obviously the podcast, the new and exciting wordplay exclamation mark. But so long, have a lovely day, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye, Georgia.
Bye.